Welcome to Dan Really Likes Wine with Pick and Pay, and a very big week if you like to drink wine and you just happen to be in Johannesburg, or you can get to Johannesburg by Saturday or Sunday, and it's well worth it, even if you're watching this in London or Sydney or Lima or Buenos Aires. Jump on a plane, come to South Africa, get to Johannesburg and get down to the Wanderers, because there is an almighty celebration of wine coming up. Now, a few weeks ago, we had a throw forward to the Stellenbosch Wine Festival with Pick and Pay. Well, this is the week it is actually happening, Saturday and Sunday at the Wanderers cricket field. It is going to be fantastic. And as I mentioned a few weeks ago, loads of reasons to go. It's a great venue, loads of space. There's some terrific food. The Pick and Pay food team going all out to make it something very special. Some great music, Majosi headlining some fantastic musical acts. Probably a fair few celebrities. If I look back to the Cape Town event at the V&A Waterfront earlier this year, you had everybody from radio starlets, Bosch Mafu, through to former rugby star John Bradshaw, just big names everywhere. But the really big names are the winemakers, and that's what makes this wine festival quite so unique. There's not just the chance to taste some great Stellenbosch wine from the heartbeat of the South African wine industry, it's the chance to meet the people who are making that wine, because the winemakers themselves jump in a bus and come up and spend a terrific weekend celebrating the wine that they love and that they make so brilliantly. So I'm going to be there this Saturday. It runs from 12 until 6 Saturday and Sunday, 225 Rand a ticket from Web Tickets. We'd love to have you along. If you're there on Saturday, come and say hello, come and tell me what you think of the festival and the wine that is being dished out. And there is wine aplenty, and just working out where to start in terms of previewing it was an almighty challenge, but I have come up with 4, and it's certainly not a complete selection, but it might point you in the right direction for a few thoughts on what you might like to taste. So the first of these is from Hidden Valley, and as you might have gathered from the name, it's kind of in a hidden valley. It's up the top of a winding little road in Stellenbosch. If you know the Ernie Els area, you kind of go past Ernie Els, past Guardian Peak, round the corner, past platform 9 3/4, and bang, you are there, and you'll find Hidden Valley. Now, you could go there if their wine was awful, because the view is so good, but the wine is far from awful. The wine is excellent in terms of the wine that I've had over the years. Started by a guy who was the CEO of Capitec then, clearly decided banking was far too boring and making wine was way more fun. But not only are they very passionate about their winemaking, but also, as we're finding more and more estates in South Africa are very keen on the environmental aspect of what they're doing. These guys are champions of the World Wildlife Fund. They do a lot in terms of how they produce their wine. It's very environmentally friendly, and it's probably a good conversation to have if it is an area of interest for you with the guys from Hidden Valley. Speak to them, find out a bit about their wine, and find out why they're doing so much that is, I think, going in the right direction in terms of how we make wine without having too much of an impact on the environment. Of course, as much as you want the environment to come out well, so you want the wine to come out well as well. And here is the Sauvignon Blanc to kick off our taste of Stellenbosch. There's a real fruit punch style to this Sauvignon Blanc, and a pineapple feed, and I'm besotted with pineapple. It's my favourite fruit, so that's always going to sit nicely on the palate. Not a sickly, sweet, big mouth of pineapple, just, you know, the notes of pineapple are definitely there, in and amongst everything else that comes through on a Sauvignon Blanc. Similar to a few we've tasted in recent times, where you found that there's a bit of acid, but it's not glaringly so, and there's just a nice roundness to what you're drinking, led in this case by those tropical fruit notes. Yeah, so Annelie van Dijk is the winemaker. She should be there. Go and look out for her, say hello, try a Sauvignon Blanc amongst her others, and yeah, ask her why they're making such a difference, why they're so passionate about making wine the way they do, not just in terms of style, but in terms of how it's actually produced and how they are trying to ensure that the Hidden Valley wine is as environmentally friendly as they can possibly make it. Then on to a label that will be familiar if you're a regular viewer of the show. And this one comes with a rider. This is Bartinney, and Bartinney is owned by Rose Jordan, and Rose Jordan's significantly older husband is Michael Jordan, who used to be a bank teller, but now runs around his farm barefoot, tweeting at people and thinking of which 12 startups he should invest in before lunch. He works for his wife, and she's a hard taskmaster, but together, along with a wonderful winemaking team, they've produced some terrific wines. Quite a few five-star platters over the last few years, and it's a wine estate that you get a really good feel about. It's got a beautiful view down over the lake, a lovely wine tasting barn. You can have some cheese, bit of food in there. Just everything about it, you feel tranquil and at peace, and without getting too zen and Buddhist. It's just a place I always feel very relaxed when I visit. Probably because Michael's usually wandering around barefoot and talking into his telephone. But the wine they make is wine that I've become very fond of. Their Cabernet Sauvignon I've drunk quite a bit of over the last few years. It's exceptional. But this Chardonnay has also got a lot of attention. There have been a couple of 5 stars over the last few years, and it's Chardonnay that will be available at the Stellenbosch Wine Festival for you to drop in and have a taste of. And it's a lovely colour. Where that Sauvignon Blanc has that pale look of an English tourist on his first day on safari in South Africa. 4 days later, of course, he's a red blend. This has got a nice, I suppose, almost pineapple hue to take a cue from the preceding wine. And everything that is good about Chardonnay, and there is so much that is good about Chardonnay. Naysayers begone, for that just the delightful combination of all those boxes you like to tick with Chardonnay. The early morning in a bakery mixed with some nice citrus fruit, mixed with a nice strong backbone and a beautifully smooth and creamy finish. It's Chardonnay that drinks beautifully now, will drink as well, if not better, in the next couple of years as well. This fairly recent addition is 2017. Another year or two certainly won't do it any harm, but right now, lovely to drink. And what I'd do is I'd see if you can get a glass of this and try it again with a couple of other Chardonnays at the Stellenbosch Wine Festival, but also nip down and try it with some of the food on display and pair it up. It's not just the food you might normally think of, but some different things, and see how they match up. You're at a food and wine show, principally wine certainly, but there's some great food there as well. And take advantage of the opportunity, see how they match up, do a little bit of comparative analysis. It all adds to the fun of the Stellenbosch Wine Festival. All right, from white, let's head on to some red. And I was part of a conversation on Twitter a few weeks ago. Daryl Bristow-Bovey, one of South Africa's great writers, fantastic columnist. He's got a number of terrific books under his belt. He's a very, very amusing man. He's also a man who likes to drink a glass of wine. And he wrote on Twitter that he had had some Merlot and that it was something that threw out the window all of the negative press that he'd seen in Sideways, the wine movie that did so much for Pinot Noir and so little for Merlot. And Merlot's been fighting its way back ever since, and literally in America sales plummeted, which is a great injustice, as I've said on this show before, because Merlot does have so much going for it. And here is a Merlot that underscores that. It's from a estate called Dornier. It's almost in the heart of Stellenbosch. If you know where the Stellenbosch Golf Club is, it's kind of across the road, down the way a little, and you'll find a lovely estate that's got an architectural gem of a cellar, which is unsurprising because Christophe Dornier, the Swiss owner, sadly no longer with us, was the man who designed it. It reflects over some water. It's done in the shape of half of a fish, so you get the full Piscean effect when the two are together. It's beautiful to look at. They've got a lovely restaurant, but they also make some very pleasant wine indeed. And this is a Merlot that will be amongst the wines you can try at the Stellenbosch Wine Festival this weekend at the Wanderers. And a chance, if Merlot is a wine you turn your nose up at or think, oh, well, maybe in a blend, but certainly not as a single varietal, this might change your mind. 91 points there from Wine Magazine, but it's more the fact that it's the style of Merlot on its own and the fact that it's got a little more gravitas, a little more body, a little more character that it's often given credit for that I think is the most important aspect here. So being a Merlot, it is softer, it's smoother, it's the grape. If you're going through the shops, you can't find anything that's more than a year or two old, but you want some red wine, then Merlot is the grape you go to. If you want something a little stronger than, say, a Cinsault or a Grenache, It'll be smooth, it'll still have some body, but it won't have the tannins that might still be there on a similarly aged Cab Sauv or Shiraz that hasn't had the time to soften as much as you would have liked. So a good investment, and on the nose, a good wine to look out for to try at the festival. And on the palate as well. Not too tannic, a little bit of tannin there, but really almost not noticeable. Some delightful fruit, it's wonderfully smooth. It almost speaks to why people talk Merlot down, that Merlot is often a more difficult grape to talk about because it's not in your face, it's not a big personality wine, but there's still more than enough there to justify good Merlot being on its own and not having to play a support role with a Cab or with a Shiraz or with another grape as part of a blend. Good Merlot on its own, excellent choice, and this is one you should definitely look out for to convince yourself, if you need convincing, that a standalone Merlot is more than capable of delivering. And then to the big gun of this quartet. Now, this is a fairly strong and hefty bottle, which is just about right, because the man who is synonymous with Vriesenhof is a fairly sturdy gentleman himself. Jan Boyland Coetzee, Springbok legend. And I don't say that in the throwaway, everybody's a legend, or my local shopkeeper's a legend, he got me some cheese. No, this is a proper legend, a great rugby player, but also as knowledgeable a wine man as there is in South Africa. You talk to people in the wine industry, and the name Jan Boyland comes up time and again, for many reasons, partly because the man owns no trousers. He has never been seen in a pair of trousers. If it gets really cold, Jan Boyland Coetzee will wear 2 pairs of shorts. That's as far as it goes. But aside from being the Bear Grylls of the winemaking fashion world, he is just an expert on all matters wine and a great person to talk to. I haven't had much time with Jan Boyland, but the time I have had has been so enlightening because he speaks with such quiet authority about an area that he clearly has invested so much time and interest in, and it's a learning process every time you're able to be part of his audience. He's also part of that famous smuggling team that brought Chardonnay into South Africa. Wonderful story that almost got him locked up, but added a rich and much needed dimension to the South African wine landscape. And he's now making some terrific wine at Vriesenhof. He's got a team with him, winemaker with him, Nikki, but it's the Jan Boyland Coetzee legend that casts a very welcome and warm shadow over Vriesenhof. And this Callista is one of their star attractions. It's a red blend, 2015 from Stellenbosch. Well, as we know, 2015 in Stellenbosch, you're on to a winner. And this a Cab Sauv Merlot Cab Franc combination. And Cab Franc is a grape that I think is really on the up at the moment in South Africa. It's maybe not getting as much attention as, say, the revival of Chenin and Bushvine in particular, or some wines like Cinsault, but people like Breraerts, guys like Gerard at Holden Mans, just giving Cabernet Franc a little bit of a leg up. And here we've got some Cab Franc in what is a fairly iconic blend. I'm looking forward to seeing how these work out. So you're looking for that big character of the Cab, the smoothness of the Merlot, and then that kind of green fruit coming through, and you think, well, that sounds a bit odd. No, when you drink it, you'll know what I'm talking about. I had some Le Tour de la Fleur in Macau at a French restaurant a few weeks ago. It was a Cab Franc Merlot blend that was quite glorious. Cab Sauv added in as well, and you've got a pretty eye-catching trio. And again, you can pick up the different components and yet at the same time feel them come together. And it might sound a little bit pretentious, but it's like you can pick up the notes in an orchestra and you know that there's the trombone and there's the triangle, was my favorite instrument, and there's the violin going, and you know they're there, but you can also pick up the song as a whole. And that's what a great blend is about. You know the individual notes are there, but it's that piece of music as a whole that is what you really focus on. And this is a terrific example of Stellenbosch blend and of the work of Meneer Jan Boyland Coetzee. A fantastic rugby career, but I think the wine career might just have shattered it. But see for yourself. Head down to the festival. It is this weekend. It's at the Wanderers. Tickets at WebTicket, 225 Rand. if you want to go along. There's also the very special wine pairing sessions that are selling out extremely fast. That's an extra 275 Rand, but a worthy investment. But even without it, the chance to have the food, listen to people like Majosi, to try what the chefs from Pick n Pay have come up with, enjoy the company, enjoy the wanderers, and enjoy terrific wine, and enjoy those winemakers. We have some incredibly talented people in South Africa making wine. Here's your chance to meet them, taste their wine, and pay tribute to the wine of Stellenbosch. Cheers.